Welcome to the iPad Possibilities Podcast, episode number 54. The iPad Possibilities Podcast and the iPad Show, live at Podcamp Ohio, June 19th, 2010. Welcome, my name is Tim Chatton, I'm the host of this show, and today I'm going to be bringing you the episode, the live show that I recorded with the iPad Show with Steve and Dave in Podcamp, Ohio. On June 19th, it was a Saturday, it was a full day event where podcasters and bloggers would gather together in Columbus, Ohio at OSU, and we spent the whole day learning from each other on WordPress and different podcasting tools. And there were live shows that were done throughout the day, and this show is done right after lunch. And if you want to find more information about the partners that I worked with for this show, you can go to iPadshow.com. They run just an iPad show as it sounds every week, and it's a great show that I listen to. But before we get to all that, I wanted to share some thoughts I had about Podcamp Ohio. It was my first podcamp and my first expo or conference where I got to meet with other podcasters, and it was a great experience. It was one of those few moments where I actually can hang out with other geeks and other people that actually have iPads. In my neck of the woods, people don't really have iPads that much. The people I hang around with aren't uber geeks, so it was a blast to hang out and share our thoughts with other podcasters and just have a good time down there in Columbus. And if you are a podcaster, I'd recommend going. You learn a lot of great information that you would not have had if you don't get in the community, learn from others that are out there doing it and doing it well. And I came back with a lot of great info that you can't just read online to figure this stuff out. You need to interact with the community. You need to talk to others. You need to do all of those great things. And it was an invaluable day at Podcamp Ohio. One great thing about going to Podcamp was meeting all the other podcasters. And I wanted to take a minute here to let everyone know about a podcast network that I've never heard of until Podcamp, where I actually got to meet the creator and the content producer of all this. His name's Cliff, and he runs Generally Speaking Production Network at gspn.tv. And he does a ton of shows. He's done, thousands of episodes. I'm not sure how many, but he puts out a lot of content, and his content is all fantastic. I hadn't heard of him until on Saturday at Podcamp, and then I heard of him. I saw him present some materials that were very compelling, very informative, and I got to pick his brain while I was there, and I learned some great things from him. Some great tips from someone that's been out there doing it for a while. And I'm sure if you've not gone to gspn.tv, you will just be blown away by the content available. There's anything from people that want to learn how to podcast, from virtual assistants, from TV show podcasts, to having a balanced life. That's something I've always believed in. You need to have a balanced life, and you have a focused life. And Cliff does his podcast the same way I do. As in, you need to have passion behind whatever subject it is you are speaking about. And as I listen to Cliff on his podcast, I hear the passion come through. I hear the energy come through. And they're just fantastic shows, the ones I've listened to so far. And I wanted to take a moment to just simply share Cliff and his gspn.tv network. And if you haven't checked it out, check it out, because I was just blown away. I wanted to make sure everyone knew about Cliff and his podcast network over at gspn.tv. With that said, I'd like to move on to some announcements regarding the Possibilities Network. There's some major things that are going to be changing pretty soon here, so let's get on to those right now. So the Possibilities Network was started with the iPad Possibilities podcast, and initially I thought this would be the only show I do, but I had so much fun doing, so much energy doing it, that I thought, wait, there's got to be other things I can talk about. So I started the network, the Possibilities Network, which today is being rebranded the Possibilities Production Network. And I did that so I could get a shorter URL. Instead of going to thepossibilitiesnetwork.com, you can now go to tppn.tv. So you can either go to thepossibilitiesnetwork.com, but you can also now go to tppn.tv, and that's the new URL that we'll be using from now on. And it's much shorter and should be easier to remember and pass along to your friends if you want to share the Possibilities Production Network with them. And I'm going to be refocusing my energies on a couple of different shows and looking into starting up some sponsored podcasts from some other products that I absolutely love. So I'm in talks with them now, and hopefully those get launched soon so I can start doing this more full time. I love podcasting and want to do it more and more, and I'm looking to get some sponsored podcasts out there. With that said, I wanted to let everyone know I will be rebooting, restarting, launching a podcast that I started a while back called the Possibilities Podcast. And I got so energized, so focused at Podcamp that I've got stuff to talk about. I've got material I want to share, and that seems like a great podcast to do that. And what I'm going to be discussing initially is this newfound passion, this idea of Crush It, a book I started reading and finished reading within a couple of days. And that's going to be the first episode back. And I recommend checking out. It's the Possibilities Podcast, found at tppn.tv. And it's going to be a very enthusiastic, energetic podcast that I can share different possibilities that I find and discover each and every day. And I'm going to be making it a weekly podcast instead of the tri-weekly as I tried to do, but could not keep up with the schedule of that. So look out for the Possibilities Podcast. I'm very excited to get that started, and a couple of other shows that I hope to get launched. So that's an update on the Possibilities Production Network. I'm very excited where it's all headed, and this is going to be an exciting future, and the iPad Possibilities Podcast is a big part of that. And we'll also be launching with a couple of other podcasts, as you might have heard on the Sunday show, the iPad Roundtable. So I've been in talks with other iPad podcasters, and we're looking at getting that started. And it should be a great time where we can all gather together from the different shows and discuss the iPad. So I wanted to take this opportunity before the episode gets really launched to just share my thoughts on Podcamp, to give you an update on the Possibilities Production Network, and just fill you guys in on what's all going on. So if you have any questions or feedback, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to have conversations and even have listeners on the show from time to time. So you can email me at ipadpossibilities@gmail.com, or you can reach me at thepossibilitiesnetwork@gmail.com. If you want, you can call in to leave a voicemail message at 209-542-iPad. And I just love hearing from you. I'd love, just getting your feedback on what's going on. Do you have any opinions as far as what shows you would like to see added? I'm looking at adding a few more shows. So just send your feedback. I'd love to hear from you. And with that said, let's get on to the main show. So on to the main event, and that is the joint show I had with the iPad show. Dave and Steve have been doing the iPad show since I started the iPad Possibilities Podcast back at the end of January, and they even had an episode out before the iPad was announced, kind of with the rumors and everything. They actually launched the show then, and before that they had the app show, which discussed iPhone apps. So they've been doing this a long time, and I'm a pretty big fan of their show and watch it every week. And this week, we sat down at Podcamp Ohio, broadcasted live around 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and discussed how to podcast from the iPad itself, from getting the content in there, to creating the content on the iPad, to publishing, and every facet in between. So that was the topic of discussion, kind of the Padcaster episode that I did a while back. I believe it was episode 9 or somewhere around there. But I did an episode called the Padcaster. So this time we joined forces and discussed how to podcast on an iPad. I hope you enjoy. And that's it.
The iPad Show, live at Podcamp, Ohio for Saturday, June 19th, 2010.
On today's show, we have a lot of cool news to talk about. We have some apps for podcasting, and we have Timothy from another iPad show.
Welcome to Action. This is the iPad Show. From the studios of Television Media, here's Steve Lostigo and Dave Buchanan.
Inside the control station, a team of specialists with ultra-sensitive electronic equipment. These men are waiting for the climax of a dramatic experiment they've been working on for many months. An experiment known by its code name as
The iPad Show.
Hey everybody, this is Dave.
And this is Steve.
And Tim.
And Tim. Tim's here today. We also have a guest audience in Podcamp. Yeah. How about that?
Hey,
Oh, wow.
rowdy audience.
Yeah, so Timothy Cheaton from the iPad Possibilities Podcast and the Possibilities Network. Thanks for coming on the show.
Not a problem.
Yeah, it's great to have you on here, and
Yeah.
you do some cool podcasts about the iPad, and you do other things too, right?
I do. I started off with the iPad Possibilities podcast, kind of exploring what can you do with this new device and kind of, beyond what you can actually do with it now, but just looking into the future. So It's been a lot of fun so far.
It's really cool. Yeah, and we're at Podcamp Ohio today. Podcamp, WordCamp.
Podcamp workout combined.
Yeah, we like podcasts. So Podcamp Ohio, and we've got a cool audience. And let's get right into the advertisement. To start it off, we'd like to thank our sponsors for the show first. The people at Go to Assist Express. That's what it's called, right?
That's what it's called, Dave.
Yeah. Go to
You'll be
Assist
getting a letter
Express.
now.
I just love it so much that I use all their products. But Go to Assist Express. You can do online meetings really easily. You don't have to go out in person and support people. You can just give them a link. They click on it. They put in their password, and you can support their computer. They don't have to be there. You can just do it over the internet nowadays. Pretty cool stuff. And we'd like to thank them for sponsoring the show. And you can go to techpodcast.com. No. What is the URL for the?
It will be in the show notes, Dave.
No, I know what it is. Yeah, if you want 30 days for free, you can go to gotoassist.com/techpodcast and get 30 days for free. Once again, gotoassist.com/techpodcast.
He's all flustered because of the craziness that we had to go through to get this thing started. It was just, it's
I know.
nuts. And it's one thing when we're in our studio and things kind of fall apart, but when we're out here and things fall apart, we can't hide.
There's really no excuse, though. We have all these wonderful mics and stuff from Cliff over here in the audience, Cliff Ravenscraft at GSPN. He's got the wonderful sounds of our voice on the PR40.
Yes, awesome.
Nice.
So this is a little bit different of a show than we normally do because we're at Podcamp, and we decided because we're at Podcamp, the theme of the show was going to be using the iPad to help you produce, make, record a podcast. So pretty much everything from planning to producing to posting, everything.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're gonna do. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get to any news or not. If we have time at the end, maybe we will. But we're gonna start out with some giveaways. We have some stuff that we're just gonna kind of throw out.
We're going to throw it?
We brought some toys with us.
Yeah. So,
We got some stands, and we got a coffee cup, and we got all kinds of stuff. So I'm gonna I guess how we'll do this. There was some debate on how we were gonna do this, whether we were just gonna chuck them at people, or whether we were gonna have a choosing between 1 to 10 or whatever. I think that's what we'll do. I think we'll just 1 to 10, and then just whoever gets closest to that
Okay.
number can just grab something.
maybe we can do that at the end, though.
All right, you want to wait and
Yeah,
rearrange
let's
that?
wait, and then we can think throughout the show.
Okay.
Yeah,
I usually don't think while I'm doing the show, though.
I do. I think of anything but
This is your sneaky way of getting people to stay all the way to the end, isn't it?
You know it.
Ah, look at that, Dave.
Okay.
Take the toys and run. All right, so let's jump into the first section of this, which is basically planning a podcast. So while you're planning it, there's all kinds of different iPad coolness that you can use to. The one we use for our show notes, we use Google Docs. You know, and we've had varying success and failure with using Google Docs to show. Yeah, as a matter of fact, bring it up. I'm going to show basically the look that we do. This is our Google Docs show notes. We basically flow through this as we're going. We've used some iPad apps, and they to try to edit these things. And you see, we use bullet lists, and some of the apps just kill the bulleted lists. But I found one. Finally, I found one that works. And I mean, go back to my main screen. It's called Docs to Go. Unfortunately, what I found was not cheap. which I'll come to. But anyway,
Oh, it does multiple accounts?
yeah, it does multiple different. It does all kinds of different accounts. You can do Google Docs accounts. You can do. You see, it's got my Dropbox account. It's got all kinds of different cloud accounts that you can use to get to your documents. So you launch it up, and slowly but surely, it's going to show all my Google Docs.
Nice.
You can edit. This is like the coolest thing. This is the only app that I've found that does a really good job of editing your Google Docs on the iPad. So let me find our episode that we're on right now. We're on episode 22. Where are we at?
I don't know.
I don't know. Where's episode
Is it
20?
up the top?
Oh, I called it Podcamp. That's what it was.
I know, I noticed that.
Podcamp episode 22. Okay, so there we go.
Sweet.
So we bring it up, and here is the docs. And now we can actually edit it. So if I want to add an extra bullet in there, I just hit that, tap it up so my keyboard comes, hit return, and I can edit, blah, 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 more bullet points. So, yeah, and the previous app that we used, what was that called, Dave? Office Squared or something?
Yeah.
And every time that we would get in here and we would add some bullets and then save it, we'd come back and the doc was just trashed. I mean, it was crazy. Everything was just all over the place. So
Doc Squared.
Doc Squared had so much promise and just didn't come through. But this one you can actually edit. So what we do, we come up with a template and then we just kind of fill it in. And this is the way to, once I save it, then I can share it off with Dave. I can share it off with whatever guest we're going to have. And everybody can get in here and just edit. So this is my little way of preparing. Oops, yeah, I'm going to discard the changes and get out of there. So Docs to Go is, let me bring up the price.
$12, I think.
Can you edit that offline and then go back online and then sync it back?
It syncs. Yep. So if you change it, it'll be still on your iPad. What I didn't show you is when you close out of that document, if you do save the changes, it'll say, do you want to sync with your online? And then it'll sync, everything that you did online. And it also stores it locally, so you don't need to be connected to the internet, to edit your cached versions of the files. Actually, let me go back in here one real quick second, and I can show you there's a difference in the icons. You can see what's been synced and what hasn't been synced. And it's getting my docs. It's really slow.
So if you just hit cancel, it would just...
It'll stop processing my folders. So there you go. So you see that there's like episode 44 is highlighted and 45 isn't. That means that I've downloaded 44.
So one question for you. If you were to do that offline, you have no net access, and you edit a document.
Right.
When you go back online, is there a way to know whether or not that's
The
been
changes.
No, it actually just says whether it's been synced or not.
That's a good
I
question.
don't see anywhere. Oops. This is gonna that little pop-up is gonna come up in a tip later.
It'll be in the show notes.
I left that in there on purpose. So okay.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know if it's gonna prompt you or not. I haven't tried to edit offline and then go back in.
Okay. Well,
But for podcasting, this is an excellent way to get in there and create your notes, and then you can view them later, in the browser while you're broadcasting.
all right, and let's now go to Timothy and see what he has this week.
Well, I don't use Google Notes or Google Docs for my show notes. Instead, I use an app called Evernote. And with Evernote, they're going to be adding later this summer sharing of the documents for other iPad users. Currently, I can create my own, show notes and place them in my shared notebook that I created. But currently, other iPad users have to go online to view those. That's being fixed this summer. So the great thing about Evernote is I can create all my show notes in here. And after I've done that, I can add audio to it by simply, entering whatever episode that was. And you can continue editing it. And you can pop in images from your photo gallery or add, say you want to record a snippet that you think would be great for your podcast. You can enter the mic. Just click the mic up here, and it's recording right now. And that will be added to your show notes so you can remember, hey, I wanted to have that in my show. So it's just another way to do show notes that I think is pretty powerful because it just does a great job syncing between pretty much any platform you work on. So
That's pretty cool.
it's Evernote.
Evernote is fun.
And free.
And free, unless you want to do premium.
So I'm gonna talk about one here that I use to kind of find
Your display
notes.
out is not on.
And my display out is not on. So, oh, it's not plugged in.
Plugged in.
That would be why.
You got a loose connection there, Steve.
You're coming up.
Nice.
There.
Okay, I'll just hold it.
It's
then.
alive.
So the one that I use all the time is NewsRack. I have all my RSS feeds go into it. So, whoops, here. It's this icon on the screen right over here.
You're off on the display out again.
Oh boy.
I don't know what's going on with your iPad, man.
Access stuff there.
Here we go. Well, I'll open it up here and it'll come on. There we go.
There it is.
So with this application, you put all your RSS feeds in there. Oh, and look at that. Evernote is the story that I was on last. How funny. That always seems to happen. But yeah, you can kind of go through the most recent news here. And since we use a lot of the Google products, you can, if there's a story that you want to talk about, you just click the side over here, right over there, and you can star a story for later, and it actually stars it in Google Reader. So if you see a story that you like and you want to talk about, it's really easy to do it that way. So, and we've talked about NewsRack a lot before, so it's not new, but it definitely is good.
The unnews rack.
Yes.
All right. All right.
Cool.
So let me see if my display out will work. Here,
Yeah.
plug it in there. So yeah, earlier you saw while I was giving the demo of the previous app a pop-up notification that came up and notified that Rachel was tweeting, and that's the next thing I want to kind of cover. When you're using your iPads to podcast, there's a few setup items that you probably want to put on a checklist of things to do, to turn off and turn on and get rid of and move away. And that's one of them. Actually, the first thing you want to do, I'll launch Safari, is get rid of any extra tabs. I have a ton of tabs going on. Because if you're going to be either showing your display or you're going to be looking at items, last thing you need is a ton of these things running. So get rid of all of those. And then turn off your pop-up notifications so that you're not getting a bunch of notifications while you're in the middle of your podcast. This has hit me quite a few times, actually, where I'll forget to do that, and oops. So you go into your settings, and in your settings there is your notifications. Turn them off. There. So now you're not going to get these pop-ups every 2 seconds. It's not going to stop your SMSs, but if you have the SMS app running, I think. But all right, so there's that, and then get back into the show notes. And there was a couple other your background picture. If you're going to be showing a lot of things on there, make sure you have a nice solid background, because people that are streaming your video over the internet, it's going to use a lot more bandwidth if you're going to have a really busy background. So try to keep the colors down as much as possible on the background of your desktop. And any applications that you're going to showcase, this has bit me a few times. I've had to search for them all over my desktop. So I've now any app that I'm going to talk about, like the apps that I'm going to talk about today, are all right here on my home screen. So that's another big tip. So that's what I had, Dave. What do you have next for your?
I don't have anything next. The display out crashed my iPad.
Oh no! And then make sure
This
your
happened
iPad
earlier
is.
today.
Yeah, this is like the second iPad crash of the day. I don't know what's going. Last time we did an app show here, and that same thing kind of bit us with the iPhones. And so I think Apple just doesn't like to go live. So everybody, turn off your internet and put your laptops on the ground.
Yeah.
All right.
So Tim.
Yeah.
So the next app I wanted to kind of show off is a jailbreak app. It's it's for basically so you don't run out of storage space of finding apps on your iPad. As a podcaster and as someone that reviews apps, you may run across the need of having tons of apps. In the instance, I did a series of music applications, and I ended up with 3+ pages of just music apps, and there was no way to store it on the iPad accessibly without InfiniDocs. So InfiniDocs, basically, you have your horizontal you call them home screens. And then you have an infinite number of vertically, you can go down or up to add more home screens. So this is great if you want all of your music apps on one home screen, then just scroll down for more. But it's something that will help you guys out. I think it's $3 in Cydia.
Does that use a lot more RAM? And
I haven't noticed it. I'm using 90 megabytes free with nothing launched, so I'm not sure if that's average or not.
That's about average, I think. Yeah, as long as it really depends on what you've launched previously. I've
Yeah.
noticed. Do you use any application switchers or anything like Pro Switcher?
Let's see. I think I have something long. I forget. I've
There's
got
that-
Pro Switcher.
Or there's that
Cycler.
Circuitous
Yeah,
or
that's what I got.
Circuitous or just a horrible name for an app. If you're gonna make an app that's so cool, make it easy to say, please. But yeah, that app, I think the Pro Switcher one has a little bit of a memory leak.
Yeah, I think they
So-
just got their iPad version up and running today.
It's
in
alpha.
beta mode. Yeah, alpha. Yeah.
Yeah, it's alpha. It's and rightfully so. All right, so we're going to move away from planning your podcast to producing and recording and making it awesome.
Yeah. So I guess I'll go since I only had one
Okay.
from the last one. This one is the coolest app I have seen in a long time. It's been out for a long time, but it's if you want to record a podcast on your iPad, then you can use this app, and it's called Caster. And I'll just search for it since there it is. Pretty cool. You can put all your podcast information in the title, the author, all that info. You can record your show, so it has a little recorder here. And this is for the iPad and the iPhone. It originally was an iPhone app that was pretty cool, but now they've increased the size of everything. So you can choose your clips, and then you record it, and you can play your little spots here. After you have to record them in first, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then you can publish it over FTP. You can tweet it, Facebook, email, all that fun stuff.
Is there any after edit on that? Or you just probably kind of publish it live?
Yeah, there is some editing functions, I believe. And Tim, you've used this. You actually tried to use this for your last show.
I tried to do a kind of see if this would work, see if I could actually do a whole episode on the iPad using Caster. And I tried to do this for my Friday, Saturday episode this week, and I got it all recorded and all edited and sequenced and all that, ready to publish. And then it all got jumbled up and kind of corrupted. So I had
Great app.
about 30 minutes. I'm not sure how this happened. 30 minutes at the beginning of a track just created with empty space. I tried dragging it to the beginning, and it was very hard to get it fixed, and I ended up just re-recording it on my Mac. So it's a great app when it works. I hope they have some updates. I'm still looking for like a GarageBand or Logic app. Hopefully Apple makes something that's beautiful and wonderful.
Just after iMovie comes out, we will have GarageBand.
Yeah, no kidding. But, I mean, this does some really cool stuff, like hooking it up with your RSS feeds. And it's cool because, yeah, it's just cool.
It is cool.
So that is what I had for that.
All right, and so that is recording with that. I have an app that is more of a post app.
Oh, yeah, you need
Switch
this,
over
don't
to-
you?
It's more of a post app. After you've recorded, I don't know if you've heard with the iPhone buzz that now iMovie is coming out for the new iPhone. And there's a very similar app on the iPad called Real Director. It's actually on the iPhone too, but it just recently came out for the iPad called Real Director. And it lets you edit your video pretty much like iMovie on your iPad. So you would just kind of, now this is assume you're doing a video podcast, obviously, and you've taken a bunch of video or maybe even pictures, and you've already imported them in using, you could use either the iTunes to put them in, or the camera
connection kit.
the super hard to get camera connection kit. Mine is coming. It's supposed to be here, but it was in Hong Kong for like 2 weeks. According to the tracking, it was just sitting there in Hong Kong. I mean, I could have drove to the airport, flew to Hong Kong, gotten it, and came back in the time that it took to just leave Hong Kong. But anyway, so yeah, mine's coming soon. But you plug that in there, you plug your SD card, or you plug your camera into it, and you can get your video into here. Once you have video and pictures into here, you create a new one. give it a name, show, and you have all kinds of different options. What if you want closing credits, so much stuff. I'm not going to kind of just go through this whole thing, but you get your quality, so you could choose which quality based on where you're going to be posting it, and then hit done. And now you got yourself a timeline, and you can start adding media from your library, or you can record some stuff to it. I'm just going to pull in some stuff that I have saved here. So let's grab. Say I want to start out with my iPad show picture, and we'll bring that in. So that shows for a little bit, and then I'm going to grab. I don't know. Let's see. Find something that's. I'm just going to throw in some pictures of iPad screenshots because this is the iPad show, right? So throw in a couple more just to get it populated. Okay, there we go. And so once you have this, you can basically edit it on the timeline, pretty much just like iMovie. There's transitions and so on. You can see these little boxes down in the corner. These are transitions between the things. You can actually play it and watch it play as you drag through. You can watch the different transitions go through and so on. You can insert clips and move them around, in between, which is really cool, really powerful. And when you're done editing all of this together, you can then save it out, and it'll be out here in your projects. You have your option to either delete it, render it, or go back and continue editing. If you hit render, it'll turn it into a movie, which this could probably since it's pictures, it should go pretty quick, or not. Okay, when it's all done, I can't believe it's taking that long for 3 pictures.
They're big pictures, Steve.
Which is probably why they want iMovie on the new iPhone with all that
More
extra
memory
RAM
and all that. Yeah.
But when it's all done, it'll end up on your iPad in your list of all the other pictures and stuff. Where you
Does
can
it
just
go
drag
in the
right up.
Photos library, or does
Yeah,
it
it goes
go
into your
the...
Photos library so that
Okay.
you can then sync it back to your
Okay,
Mac
good,
or whatever
good.
and post it up. Or if you use an app to post it up, through FTP or whatever,
Right.
you post up your video that way. So really cool video. It doesn't have to be for podcasting. It can be for anything. And we have 3 promo codes that we are going to give out somehow with this too.
Yeah, very
the
cool.
developer for this app was kind enough to give us a few promo codes to just kind of throw out into the crowd if anybody wants them. So,
Yep.
Very
All right.
cool. Well,
Tim.
I had a tip here. Steve just talked
We like
about
tips.
editing, video on your iPad. And to edit video, you first have to get the video into your iPad, obviously.
Yeah, no kidding.
So
that would be tough. Uh-oh, how are you going to do this?
The way you do that is through the camera connection kit.
Everybody rush him, he's got one.
Comes with SD card
You can
or
you can
a USB
buy that
here.
you can buy that now on eBay for $150.
That's true.
It's
I
insane.
sold one of these for $80 when I picked mine up, so I
Wow.
got 2. So, so you have a camera. You can just take out the SD card in here, pop it in here, in your camera connection kit, plug in your iPad. It imports, and then you can use it then in your iPad to edit and post and do all those things.
Nice.
And kind of along with that, a lot of people are getting iPhone 4s coming up pretty soon here. And the iPhone 4 has front-facing and back-facing cameras, so that kind of makes it kind of a perfect podcasting tool. So you do your face shot and then show something off with the back camera, and I think it'll be a great tool. And with that USB connection, you can actually, instead of editing your movies on iMovie with that small screen, you can import to your iPad and do it right there.
Another cool thing we're finding all kinds of cool stuff you can do with the camera connection kit. It's basically more than just a camera connection kit. It's a USB port add-on. And
Yeah.
basically anything that OS X has native drivers for will work if you plug it into that camera connection kit. It'll, for example, USB mics and USB headphones and headsets, and if you are an Uber jailbreak hacker, even a hard drive, you plug it in and mount it in your in your command line.
Yeah, it's
to
pretty
mount it.
amazing. You can do like 5.1 USB speakers, and
It's
my
insane.
high-end, USB mic worked with it. I was kind of disappointed the USB webcams didn't work, so that'd be really
Oh
cool.
yeah, that would be really cool.
I wonder if some of them do. It seems like if there was a native, like, I don't know, maybe an iSight, something that would use the iSight
Yeah.
driver might work.
Yeah, that'd be cool to see if that would work.
But it's I guess it furthers my frustration that Apple didn't include a USB port on the iPad because it's obviously possible.
And it's also
Yep.
frustrating that like the regular iPod camera connection kit doesn't work with the iPad.
Yeah. Planned obsolescence.
Yes. So one that I didn't have on the list until right before we started the show,
That's how it goes.
and I realized that
Oh, yeah.
I didn't have the music, the intro music for our show. So I was like, oh no, what am I going to do? And then I remembered I had saved everything before to Dropbox. And Dropbox has a really great iPad app here. And you just open it up, and it's for iPad or iPhone. And we have a
What
folder.
do you got in your Dropbox?
Yeah, we have a folder for the app show or the iPad show. And then we have like a couple of our logos in here. So we've got the iPad show logo. Look at this. We've got
Oh,
iPad
yeah.
Possibilities Podcast. And then what
That-
we used earlier for our intro, we just had it actually streaming over Dropbox here.
It was streaming over Dropbox?
Well, it doesn't really download it.
How cool.
So there's the
I
intro.
feel like I
again.
should say the iPad show. Oh,
Okay.
You can load in videos and stuff. Too.
Yeah, you can do videos
it's like
and
the Pavlov experience.
documents,
Right.
and you can send it out to different things. What is that, Steve?
What's
Did you
that?
drop that in there? Use bullets? Another bullet?
Where?
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that was me. Yeah.
Okay. So you can test it for different things too.
Yeah, I threw Tim's show thing in there too because I was going to
Yeah.
do something that didn't quite pan out. But
Yeah, but Dropbox really cool for taking everything you need with you, and especially a show on the road.
yes, it's like a whole hard drive everywhere you go. Cool.
Yes.
All right. So I guess we can migrate over to my last little one. Mine is called Pro Prompter, and I contacted the developer for this. And
Oh,
if we
this
have
is cool.
time at the end of the show, I'm going to show you guys something sweet that they sent us. It is so cool. But I was contacting him usually when I am reviewing apps, I like to contact the developer, get a little bit of the backstory, figure out, make sure I'm covering everything that, because I don't use every feature of every app. And so while I was talking to him, he said, hey, we have this other thing, if I overnight it to you, could you take it to, with you to Ohio? And so I got it with me. So, but anyway, first of all, I'm going to show you the app. This is something that you can use. You could either use it on the iPhone and have it kind of sitting back, or on your iPad. If you're not going to use your iPad for everything else, it's called Pro Prompter, and it's basically exactly that. It's a prompter,
A teleprompter.
a teleprompter. So here's our show notes. You can just see it kind of, go through, and it scrolls up, and you're supposed to just say what it says, or
The iPad show.
yeah. So there's that, and you can adjust the speed on it. You can adjust the back color. You can adjust the font, the size, pretty much everything. And if you pair it with another iPhone app
Oh, so cool.
that's running the same app, you can stop it and start it using the iPhone.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
someone else off screen can be stopping and starting the thing for you. If
Or
they
you can
realize
have it
that
under
you're-
the table.
yeah,
Like
if
a
you realize
remote
if you're
for the
starting to fall
iPad.
behind because it's going really, really fast and you're talking really, really slow. So, and if you double tap it, you get your back to your menu again. Here's the remote where it would pair with the remote if I had one hooked up or not. And all of the different settings. You got the orientation, whether you can landscape and all that good stuff.
You can mirror the text too. So if you're really if you have like a mirror, a lot of times they put a mirror in front of a video camera, so you're looking directly at the video camera, and now you can mirror the text right there, so it does it correctly. Cool.
Yes, it's fully featured. It's $10. It's an
Okay.
expensive app, but if you're going to be doing this a lot, if you're going to be doing a lot of shows where you're going to want to stay on track, unlike us.
And to get a Wi-Fi connected monitor that you can put in front of a camera,
Yeah.
the iPad is almost worth it just for that.
Right.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's a $10 app that will keep you on track.
How do you get your show notes in there?
Yeah, how do you get stuff in there?
You can either copy and paste, which that's how I got mine in there. I went over to the Google Docs and I just selected all and copied, and I went in here and pasted. There's also this can sync. You see the little sync button up here?
Yep.
It syncs with their online service. So they have their website where you can log in with your username and password that you set up on here. So that's a good question, by the way. You sync up and after you've sync it, you can go up there and copy and paste, or you can edit online through the web browser and put your notes in that way. So
Promo code.
I do have a promo code, and since you asked, one of them is yours.
You had a good question. So.
So there you go.
Nice.
And
All right.
yeah, their other little app is, or their little thing is cooler, much cooler.
Anything else, Steve? Or Tim?
Yeah, I've got a tip here. Another one about getting content onto your iPad. We've discussed a lot of apps, but if you're a Google Voice user and you want to do some Skype interviews on your iPad and have it recorded, that's something that's kind of limited because you don't have Audio Hijack Pro or something like that. But with Google Voice, how you do this is you have your interviewee call you on your Skype number, which is linked to your Google Voice number. If you have Google Voice, you'll know what that's all about. But Google Voice is kind of a universal number, so you can add your Skype number, your cell phone to it. But when you get that call from your interviewee, you just hit 4 before you start the interview, and Google will actually record that conversation for you. And then on your iPad, you can go to voice.google.com using like Atomic Web Browser, identifying it as a desktop app because it's hard to download it with the mobile version. But you're able to download that interview, pop it in one of those audio editors, and post it and publish it with kind of the means we talked about today. So that's kind of a cool way to actually do some interviews with Skype.
Very cool.
Can you do that with any call that comes in on a Google Voice number?
Yes, you can, which is kind of scary because if you can record any conversation, yeah, it's kind of cool.
Neat.
All right.
Okay, so
switch over to you.
Yeah, let's switch over to me. My last app that I'm going to talk about today is called Sound Slate, and it's not coming up on the screen. There we go. Yep, Sound Slate, and it is really simple.
Alien death.
Yeah, so it's really simple. It just is a little soundboard that plays sounds.
So if your last name happens to be Dvorak.
Oh my gosh,
Wow.
that's better.
And if you'd like to alienate your audience,
Yeah. So you just bring this up. So you just click on it. All it is this basic little board here. If you want to add a new thing, you just hold down on it, and you can pick from the selection of pre-recorded stuff they have in here. Like, and you can hear. I like that one. So. Anytime I want to, I can bring that sound up. Or if you want something,
at will.
if you want something a little more specific, well, you can in the top corner up here, you can create a new sound. Or down here is your iPod library, and you can pick any of the songs or podcasts or anything that you have on your iPad, albums, playlists, all that good stuff.
Will it copy it out of there so when you resync your iPad and delete those, will those go too?
I don't know.
I think that they're just links
Okay.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
But if you record something into there using the mic, that stays in there.
Okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, I could have, if I had planned ahead
The
of time.
iPad Show, episode 21 for Sunday, June 13th,
What was that?
2010.
On today's show, we're going to be talking
Turn it
about
off! Make it stop!
So if I would have planned ahead of time, I could have put our show introduction in there and all of the bumpers that we have and that kind of stuff. So kind of cool and a easy way to do a little soundboard.
Yeah. A little
Very
laugh
cool.
track.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
It's fun.
Awesome. All right, so I think that we are out of that section now, and we have some time left, so we can kind of talk about some news and chit-chat if you'd like. And before we get into that, I guess since we have an audience here, thought why not ask for some questions from the audience? If ever anybody has questions about the iPad, about what
Yeah.
we're doing here, all that kind of stuff. So does
And then I think we should show that one thing because it's so cool.
that's kind of what I was
Yeah.
going to throw the baton to you to answer some questions while I run and grab it.
Oh, okay. Any iPad questions? Anybody? Yes.
Yes, sir. Your show last week,
Yeah.
you said you were going to Cleveland, Ohio.
Oh boy. Yeah, we got a few comments about that.
Yeah.
We were not going to Cleveland.
People in Cleveland right now.
I know. They're walking around the campus going,
Where are they?
Yeah. Yeah. So, sorry guys.
Yeah. Oops. Well, we can talk about some news a little bit.
Oh yeah. One thing I wanted to say is Starbucks. We kind of like Starbucks, but they are now going to be offering Wi-Fi for free. starting at the beginning of the year.
They're going to drop
Or
that
the month.
ridiculous sign-on fee. And, yeah, it's pretty much for everybody.
Yeah,
isn't it?
and one thing I had been doing is if you get a prepaid card there, then you can if you have a prepaid card, you can with $5 on it you can have free Wi-Fi access for 2 hours. But now you don't even need that.
Right, and so I guess where that ties into the iPad is, I hear a lot of people complaining about, and I might be one of them, complaining about the switch with AT&T, their bait and switch basically with their unlimited internet access. If there's a Starbucks everywhere that has Wi-Fi and it's free like that, does that make a difference? And does that make a difference to people who are, is that good enough to make it so it's not as bad or no?
I don't know.
I'd still get 3G if there's a lot of Starbucks around, but I still want to be able to in my car use my iPad to check something really quickly. That doesn't solve that issue.
But as far as bandwidth, are you going to be using a lot of bandwidth in your car? Is it because the biggest complaint that I see is that 2 gigs isn't really that much, and that's what AT&T has capped you at now.
Plus, if you want to be streaming, Netflix on your way to Florida, your kid's in the back seat, they want to watch some movies,
So
you'll run over the 2 gigs and all that.
Thought you were talking about while you're driving.
No, that would not be advisable. Yeah, crashing.
But yeah, so that was one little thing that they've thrown out. I think that it was, that was brought up with the iPad in mind because it was previously AT&T that supplied their hotspot. And AT&T is taking some serious hit from that bait and switch, as they should. And so I think that's one of their ways they're trying to backpedal. There was also a Safari exploit recently that was just unveiled, and it was from the same people that had the so-called AT&T exploit. You remember back, I think it was last episode, we talked about AT&T had on their website a script that made it easy for you to log into their website, and these guys figured out how to basically brute force the script by sending it a bunch of your iPad serial numbers or whatever, and then it would get the email addresses of everybody, great big, I guess an infinite spam list, but it wasn't really a security, but these guys actually found a security bug in Safari, and it was an integer overflow bug, which basically that means you just throw in a bigger number than an integer, into Safari, and it buffer overflows. And when that happens, then they were able to turn your iPad into a gateway so that it can be used to spam everybody else on your network. Not a huge deal. It's not like they could steal your private information or anything, but it's something worth knowing. I guess if you're taking your iPad into work and the next thing you know, you hear everybody next to you saying, "What's all this spam I'm getting?" you might have been exploited. And as far as I know, I don't think it leaves anything permanent on your iPad either. It's one of those things. It opens the gate and then it uses it, and then you reboot your iPad or you go somewhere else with it and it goes away. So it's really not that bad. I think that it's again because it's sensationalized because it's the iPad.
Yeah, and 4.0 should fix it.
Yeah, and it should be. And I guess these guys were just all in a tizzy because they told them about it a while ago, and it still hasn't been patched. And so they're, I think they just want their notoriety.
Of course.
But
so that might
I
not
better watch it because they could probably get my number in.
So that might not affect us, but this next news story here would affect all three of us up here. The U.S. Copyright Office and the Library of Congress are going to be ruling whether or not jailbreaking, which is hacking your iPad, should be exempt from the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. So is what we're doing right now illegal, Steve?
I don't know. Maybe.
I hope not.
We'll find out.
Right now they're talking about the iPhone, whether or not the iPhone is going to be covered under the iPad. Hasn't even been brought up yet because the iPad didn't exist when the original plea was brought up, and they have to be specific to the device, not the OS. So
the only way you can really get the iPad to display on a screen like this, or to get these,
or have that nice little thing that just popped down,
to have that come up where you can do all these kind of management tasks and everything. That is all jailbroken iPad stuff, and it's really useful. But also, Apple doesn't like it because they're losing control of their device, even though you bought it.
Yes.
So.
It takes a bite out of their apple.
And I don't think if it's illegal, it'll stop people from jailbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't see how it
honestly.
can be because you bought your iPad.
Yeah, it's yours.
This is your device.
Mm-hmm.
You can do whatever. I mean, you bought your car. How would you like it if GM said no? You can't put these kind of tires on your car that
Yeah,
you
but-
bought and you've paid off, and it's your car. If they're saying
You
no,
can't
you
change the
can't
engine,
put
you can't change
Firestone
the tire.
tires
Yeah.
on your
Yeah.
car. You can only put our stock tires on there.
But you agreed, Steve, when you bought your iPad, you agreed to the license agreement that says you actually don't own the operating system. You are just buying a license to it.
Did I agree or did I just buy it? I don't think I agreed.
I don't know.
I
You
think
did something.
Because I didn't see anything that popped up. When you first hook up your iPad, you plug
Mm-hmm.
it in and you sync it. There is no agree box that you have to hit.
When I swiped
When
my
I
debit
activated
card,
in
it didn't
iTunes.
I didn't see one of mine.
Oh, yeah. It's,
I'm
But
sure it's hidden someplace.
regardless of that I didn't agree. Needless to say. So I don't think that they could ever make it illegal for the iPad. I think that they might have a leg to stand on for the iPhone because it's on a cellular network. But for the Wi-Fi iPad, they don't own the network that I'm on. They don't, there's really nothing to protect them from, so I don't see why they should be able to do that.
and I found out why Apple doesn't like this. I just crashed my iPad again, and I figured out what it is. So if you lock the screen and then immediately pull out the plug that was displaying the screen, it crashes it.
That
There's
happened
a
to me
tip.
earlier today, too.
There's a tip.
Yeah. Now it's going to be 10 minutes until
Yeah.
it starts up again.
All right, well,
They
while
might
you-
have a case for denying, service of repair if you jailbreak and you don't restore it.
who was it? You knew somebody who went in with a jailbroken phone.
Yeah.
And they were almost denied service because it was jailbroken. But even though he had wiped it off and put the native OS back on there
wow.
again,
Yep. They could see that it had been jailbroken at one time.
yeah. So yeah, beware. But okay, so while you're rebooting, I'm going to show this cool device that these guys sent me. It's called the company that sent it is Bodelin, Bodelin, and it's called the ProScope Mobile. And this thing is it's a microscope that pairs with your iPad. Yeah, that'd be cool to plug this thing. It pairs with your iPad or your iPhone, and you can get all kinds of cool images. Am I on there?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not running
Even
the
the
app.
app.
The app must be launched. The app is free in the store. I'm not sure exactly how much this thing is. It's like in the $500 range. It's expensive. But this is designed mainly for maybe it would help if I pair. I need to pair with the Wi-Fi. It is its own Wi-Fi access point, so you have to connect to its own Wi-Fi, which is Air Micro 176. Let me connect to it.
Cool.
And there. Now that I'm connected to
We
it.
have 1 minute left, Steve.
I know, I'm running. Launch the app. It's going to pair with it. There. So now you can
Nice.
see it. And you can basically, let's look at what's going
Look
on
at the fur of our Tweety.
in Tweety's head. No fleas in
soft.
Tweety. So cool. You can get all kinds of different lenses for this thing.
Hey, Steve, do you know if it could work with multiple iPads so you have a classroom full of students
Yes,
with
it
iPads?
does.
That is sweet.
So yeah, if you had a whole classroom full of iPads and they all iPads, and they all connected to the Wi-Fi in here, then what I would be showing you on my screen would be broadcasted to everybody's iPhone and iPad. So this is ideal for a classroom environment. Yeah,
That's cool, Steve.
I don't advise you to stick it in your ear. Especially anywhere near lunchtime. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a fun toy. I've been playing with this all over the place. I was afraid to sleep on my hotel room bed after that. Because
Oh, Steve.
yeah, you don't. There's some places you do not want to use this, and oh,
Sorry. Okay, well, that is a good ending to the show there. So thanks, everybody, for coming. And if you want to find out more, you can go to iPadshow.com. You can subscribe in iTunes. And also,
Oh,
how do
yeah, we have some
find out-
giveaways too, by the way.
Oh, yeah, we'll do that.
We'll do that after we quit.
Yeah, we will. They're door prizes.
Door prizes.
So, Tim, how do we find out about your podcast?
You can go to thepossibilitiesnetwork.com and you'll find the iPad Possibilities podcast and a few other podcasts that do there as well. The iPad Show, the iPad Possibilities podcast is 3 times a week, so Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and then some premium people will get Monday, Wednesday, Friday releases. So check that out.
Very nice. All right, thanks for being on the show, and thanks for everybody for coming, and thank you very much. See you next year.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
We made it.
So that was the show from Podcamp Ohio. And as always, send your feedback. You can send that at iPadPossibilities@gmail.com or 209-542-iPad. And until the Friday, Saturday show, this is Tim Chatton of the iPad Possibilities podcast, and we will speak again then.